Hey, what's up? Good morning. This is Saturday. My name's Sean, and the lighting just changed right before I went live, and it freaked me out a little bit. Um, but I'm also, first thing I want to say is I'm currently listening to music uh, at a very low level that I don't think you can hear because I can only hear it through my headphones. But I think it's an experiment in trying to put myself in just like an even more relaxing experience. Uh, I took a brownie this morning prior to making breakfast. Wow, the music was a good. The music was a good choice. It's creating an interesting mood for me. It's encouraging me to tell this story. Um, So anyway, yeah, to make a long story short, I'm listening to music because it's working. It's already working. Um, and if it ceases to elevate the mood for myself, I can just always hit pause. So um, I have one guest that is scheduled to be here in this abridged edition of this live streaming show. Um, and I know for certain we're going to be talking a little bit about live theater. I saw this play in my neighborhood here in New York that's running until June 6th, Three Houses. And it was kind of an exceptional experience because I went into it not knowing what the show was about. I mean, I had some small idea. Um, so it was a risk in sort of going into this cultural event unknowing what the outcome would be, and I think I greatly benefited from it. So anyway, that's something that I want to talk about. Um, the X-Men TV show has been uh, kind of shocking. Um, not that not that I'm a grown man who usually gets emotional over cartoons, but this new X-Men thing, which I casually remembered watching when I was in high school, so I have vague memories of it. Um, But, yeah, I don't know, they turned a kids' cartoon and made it, for adults. Um, Star Wars fans complain about the Disneyfication of current Star Wars, which what they're complaining about is that this thing that was made for kids, there's new episodes of it, and it's still made for kids. So that was the intention, but, X-Men is, not made for kids, but it's, kid friendly. Um, it brings up some uh, topics that are worth talking about. um, it's good to have a dialogue about the kinds of things that these cartoon mutants, are dealing with. Um, Before I forget, because I do want to make mention of it, speaking of live theater, if you are watching from New York or nearby, there is a show tonight in Midtown Manhattan that I am involved with. So, but Stone Laughs is a live comedy show, uh, somewhat unique in that it is a 420 friendly environment. So, for people who are interested in laughing in a pretty safe environment, that might be tonight. Uh, there's going to be two shows, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. And Sorry, I'm having to endure a commercial because I don't pay for. If you're just joining us, I'm currently listening to music in my headphones, and a commercial just came on because the service I'm using I don't pay for. Um, I do pay for it. I pay for it by enduring things that are marketed to me that I can't afford or I'm just not in need of. Okay. Our first guest is in the waiting room, and I'll bring her in if she's cool with it now. Um, and I'll share some stories with her. Okay, Christine Marie,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, friend?
Good. I'm. I just want to catch you up. Just so you know, I'm listening to music in my headphones while I'm doing this, just because it adds to the experience for me.
Dude, totally. If you have ever seen the movie Moon with directed by David Bowie's kid,
Mm-hmm.
Duncan Jones,
Yes.
and oh, he's my favorite actor. What is his name?
Sam.
Sam Rockwell,
Yeah.
correct. I accidentally had Chill Hop on another window as I was watching that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea. Totally
Oh.
enhanced. Every
Oh,
part of
right.
it. It fit exactly where we were in every scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, there should be more sci-fi that has just like incredible,
Jams? Hell yeah.
yeah, just incredible soundtrack all the way through. Well, the first thing I did want to talk about was I saw this play last weekend.
Oh, fabulous. Okay.
Um, I think it would be fun because we both have an interest in live theater to talk about live theater a little bit.
As a matter of fact,
Oh, great.
YippieFest applications are open.
Nice. Um, so we'll definitely talk about that. A theater festival you're involved with um, in Chicago is happening again, and I did do it last year. But we'll talk about that. But the play that I want to talk about here is, and the reason I want to talk about it is because what made it more enjoyable was that my girlfriend and I didn't know what the premise was going
I
into it.
mean, I really like the implications on the
Yeah.
front of that.
Um, it's hard to describe what it was actually about because it's it doesn't reveal that much about the play actually. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like, but it was completely enjoyable and it was very bizarre, and I feel like I could have been microdosing while seeing this and it would have made for an incredible experience. Um, but I just want to talk about how I think that there's like an increased value for live theater, especially since because so many artists are worried about AI and AI taking artists' jobs, which I do understand. But that also means that there's an extra value for live theater because that's humans experiencing other humans.
Absolutely. If you look at any point in history where things become more accessible and more commercialized, there's one artist, I want to say it's somebody like Caravaggio or something, that did little intimate portraits of
Hmm.
all of the people so that they had them to keep and they could only
uh,
show specific people.
uh,
Then it becomes about exclusivity. And then let's say when photos became accessible,
hmm.
photorealism is what everybody's seeing, and so we get a pushback from that of cubism, of expressionism, of impressionism.
Yes.
And so I'm so excited to
Hmm.
see what the live pushback of that is.
Hmm.
That also said, I tried to do live what I've been doing here on Stoner Morning Show and came up with some definitely issues in the medium
Hmm.
that I've now become accustomed to
Ah,
in these kinds of things, you
got
know?
it. Hmm.
So for example, I had no electricity right? I couldn't
Oh.
plug in a waffle maker. I couldn't plug in a rice maker. I couldn't. So I had to. What I did was I whipped up a pie. I argued, what is a pie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said it has to have 2 crusts and a filling. So I
Okay.
had the girl mash up the Ritz crackers, and we put those on the bottom, and then I threw in Nutella and caramel and peanut butter, and I stuffed in some marshmallows, and we put more Ritz crackers on the top.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, that is a pie. Nobody wanted to eat my pie.
Ah.
Bad.
Well, but you learned something.
I did.
Okay.
Right. There's I had a lot more ability
Mm-hmm.
in my own kitchen,
Right.
obviously, than I did. And I studied too. Like I looked at like late night shows that had Martha Stewart on them, or who's the chef that's the world chef, Chef Andre.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but they still have more, like they have a studio. They can have people plug stuff in and like
Right, right.
magic. I didn't have the magic option either.
Got it. So, but you, what you're saying is that if you were asked to do a solo cooking presentation online at some point in the future, you'd be able to do it better. Is that that's what you're saying?
Absolutely. Right.
Okay. Good to know. Well, talk a little bit about Yippie Theater if you'd like, or any other live theater pursuits that you have
Oh man,
coming.
there are so many live pursuits.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start with YippieFest because applications are open. So I
Mm-hmm.
would encourage anybody listening. We're looking at improv. We're looking at sketch. We're looking at solo shows like yours. Um, those are our biggest hits right now. Send us some one acts. Let us, go
Right.
nuts. It's very much like Bad Theater Fest, right? In that there's no jury, there's no, censorship, there's no
Right.
anything like that. Um,
Yeah, and I did do a show there last uh, end of the summer, was it?
mhm,
As I was there, and Christine was there, and I think we would agree that it was warmly received by
absolutely.
by a pretty good sized crowd.
Yeah,
It,
100%.
and I don't know if I've shared this with you, but that was, I think, the first time that I did the show really well. Also, like that's
Yeah.
I had done it twice in New York. One time at a bookstore in Jersey, which did not go well. Each time it had its high points and its low points,
Sure.
and I feel like I was able to hit the ground running in Chicago because I already half won, half failed.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah,
And the thing is, like, Chicago is the city of yes and,
right.
right? Whatever you're doing, somebody will support you in it. Like, you want YippieFest in space. Screw it.
Yeah,
Let's go.
right.
Like,
Is it same venue as last year?
no, it is at
Okay.
the Chopin this year,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bigger venue. So
Oh
we're gonna
wow.
have to fill it out. But
Nice.
yeah, it's a really decent spot. I think it's in Wicker Park, exactly. If anybody is particularly familiar with Chicago,
I've been around. I know I can find it on a map. I've been there before, I feel like.
sure.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
and I try to keep people safe when they
hmm.
come.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So, but yeah, in terms of other theater pursuits, I
Hmm.
got involved with this ensemble called Ghostlight Ensemble, and they had to vote me in, and that was very nice. And so I've now written a children's show for them that I have post-its of edits all over my house that I just need to get that done. And then we're doing, there's a lot of talk about book banning lately.
Hmm.
And what our season premiere play that is it's about book banning in Alabama,
Oh wow.
and so like I
And
feel like I
and
don't know.
is it set in sort of current times or recent times?
No, it's set
Okay,
in the 60s.
got it.
And so 1960s Alabama, you can gather that there's a bunch of stuff going on.
Right, right.
Um,
It's not a
and
it's not a comedy.
it
Is
is
what
not a comedy. There are some
Right.
solid lines though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like some of it is genuinely funny,
Mhm.
especially, if you're on the right side of history, right? You're just going,
Yeah, yeah.
where'd you get that from? You
Right.
know? So that's coming up in September, and we are hooked up with a bookstore for that,
Oh, cool.
which is yeah. I really like when we can like match the venue with it. And one of the things that we do to raise money is do live staged readings of TVs and movies.
Mhm.
Um, we will not touch Disney.
Yeah,
We will
yeah.
leave the mouse alone.
Mhm.
But I just directed Playing by Heart. If you remember this movie from 1998 that nobody else saw.
It doesn't ring a bell, but remind me.
It had
Mhm.
Jon Stewart, Gillian Anderson, Sean Connery, Ryan Felipe, Angelina Jolie,
Mm.
uh,
One of
Dennis
those
Quaid.
one of those random, ensembles that it sounds like you're just naming off random actors, but they were actually in some sort of made-for-TV thing together?
It wasn't made for TV.
Oh,
That said, I
okay.
did see it first on A&E.
I see, I see.
Here's what I think happened is I'm about 6 years younger than the intended audience for that movie.
I see.
I was very pretentious, so
Mhm.
I would be watching A&E, like the start breakfast of jazz on A&E in the morning, and then this
Right,
movie came on, and I
right,
thought I was getting away with something. I knew something that the older people knew,
right.
and nobody else.
If I can, uh, share an analogy that I think is pretty accurate,
Mhm.
there's more, um some kids are drawn to horror films, um, for interesting ways because they're not supposed to be, because they're breaking a rule.
Right,
This was another way of breaking a rule.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the same way that like breaking the rule was like my first R-rated movie I think I was allowed to see was Bridget Jones' Diary.
Mm. Right.
Like it wasn't about violence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the other thing with that too is of the people who were the correct age when the movie came out to see it and they remember it,
Mhm.
the nostalgia is different because I'm what I think is nostalgic is a place that I was imagining to be in the future.
Mhm.
So like when I was in, I don't know, elementary school and the morning radio would come on and they would be like, come down to Sandcastle where we have the hot tubs and you can drink all night.
Mhm.
I don't know what that was. I was never there. As a grown up, I would not have gone. That sounds dirty.
Right.
But as a kid, I'm imagining what's going on. So I'm thinking about the joy that I could have experienced
Mhm.
if I were there. And so it reads to me like I a little more Baz Luhrmann than uh
Somebody else.
somebody else.
Um, well, I'm I'm reminded of an idea I had recently where, just because content is king, as they say, and
Sure.
um, it's easier to do digital things rather than rehearsing for some sort of live performance, just because of all the things that go into it. And so I was thinking of an easier way to sort of, um, conjure live theater quickly,
Mm.
um, without the need for having to do a lot of rehearsals, which are time consuming and costly. And it's repurposing public domain material and just sort of like, um, we present this is something that was written in such and such year. We don't know what it is. We're kind of doing this on the fly, but it's a public domain work. Let's
I
see.
mean, there
Yeah.
are so many festivals around here that are doing exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Alice Gerstenberg Festival, for example, so literally, I think last year,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of her stuff came into the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, people are watching all of, like, as soon as it becomes public domain, we're
Yes.
doing a festival of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And but also, so I used to do a series called Brimstone and Grind, where we took things in the public domain and told them in
Mm-hmm.
the medium of vaudeville burlesque,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, all of the vaudeville burlesque stuff is about to be public domain. Like, why not pull from that? You
Mm-hmm.
know, the magicians have every single trick that you learn comes with the banter,
That's
right? They're
yeah.
using exactly that.
That's an interesting analogy. Yeah, that's really good.
But then also in terms of using something that's already public domain
Mm-hmm.
and incorporating the experience of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to my best friend about this, where can you use, say, Pinterest
Mm-hmm.
as a storytelling medium?
Huh.
Can you collect, like if you went to an estate sale, right? Somebody's died, you're looking at all their stuff, you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of gather a storyline from all of their stuff, like who
Mm-hmm.
they were as person. Can you do the same thing with Pinterest?
Hmm.
And if that's the case, now for
I guess cultural anthropologists from the future would say yes. And
right.
yeah.
But so how do you do that quickly? And if you can set up something that's already written, so
Mm-hmm.
so an alternate, not necessarily alternate reality or adjacent reality or whatever the hell they call that now,
Mm-hmm.
but like the Pokemon, right? It's not there, but you're there with it.
Are you talking about sort of like a Mad Libs type of setup?
Uh no, but yes, but no.
Right, right.
I like it.
Yeah, an
More
outline. Yeah.
more like if you set up a storyline in your personal blog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, "Oh, well, I'm coming to town on this time," and that character comes and does this show.
Right.
Then you already have what, like, a baseline to take this live theater off of. They can
Right.
do whatever it is in their universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And encouraging people to come because they're already invested in what's available to them.
Yeah. And if you're envisioning putting this up, it's a streaming performance. Is that what you're saying? No.
No.
Okay.
So what I'm more envisioning is like there are, let's call it 3 characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? One person does Tumblr, because everybody has multiple social medias. So they're doing Instagram and YouTube, and another person is doing TikTok and Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old. But you would be watching, like I don't know if you followed the story of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Hashtag.
Who the fuck? That's not one story. That's multiple
It is
stories.
one story,
Oh,
but she
wow.
did it in 50 parts. She did it
wow.
like it was a novel. Like you can just turn to whatever chapter, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think she changed the game with using the medium,
Ah.
right? So if you have a couple of storylines that
Mm-hmm.
are this guy did this guy did this, you have a couple of people stitch them, then the audience
Mm-hmm.
starts stitching them,
Ah.
right? You already have them involved.
Mm-hmm.
So you once you are in the place to put on whatever the live show is,
Mm-hmm.
it's already in progress. You have, if like you could, with the Mad Libs thing, you could have beats
Mm-hmm.
like of where you want the story to go, but ultimately it's character driven. And what is it that the characters would do?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more immersive. It's a little bit more coming out of the escape room
Yeah, yeah.
craze, right? Because
What?
go ahead.
Sorry, it makes me just think of a question about how. So, as two people who, you're in Chicago, I'm in New York, we're both involved in multiple live theater interests.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get um,
Butts and
how,
seats.
how do we attract more people who are afraid of seeing theater because of, yeah,
Great question.
yeah,
Not sure. What
because I think part of it is they're afraid of they're going to be wasting time by seeing something that's not fulfilling to them.
definitely, and that's why like
But I
so
think it's a worthy risk to go out and see stuff that you might not like, because so what, who cares? You
but
know what I mean?
also yeah, that's true. A lot of us as creators are not considering who our audience even potentially is,
I think that's
right?
true too. Hmm.
And so we're not like who are the kind of people that want to see a staged reading of an old movie? This was literally my first question when I came into the group. Like, who's
Right.
coming to this and why?
Yeah, yeah.
And as the people came, I kept interviewing them. I was like, why are you here?
Yeah, yeah.
And they just kept saying, I don't know, it's fun.
Hmm.
We just showed up one night and then you guys were here. And so
Oh,
we
got
came
it.
back because it was fun,
Right.
right? Consistency is part of it.
Hmm.
You can't just do like you have to commit to the bit is really what it is,
Hmm.
right? But also in considering your audience, like knowing what the limitations of your audience might be.
Um, one quick thing that jumps out to me is that I think what you're saying is the artists think they're putting out things that are so culturally significant and impactful, but the people who are actually going out are people who are just like, I just wanted something to do. Like, they're not looking for that.
I, a little bit with you
Uh-huh.
on that, yes. Um, moving the camera perspective a little bit though, like oh, what is his name? Stanhope. Doug
Mm-hmm.
Stanhope,
Uh-huh.
when he is on his way to a show and he sees what he thinks are his fans, he crosses the street.
Oh, right.
They're generally dickheads, right? And if you're putting out that kind of work and that's what you're getting back,
Mm-hmm.
that is something to consider,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what are you surrounding yourself with? And then is that something that's preventing more butts in seats,
Right.
right? Like, I don't maybe want to hang out with misogynistic pigs,
Right.
but I do go to open mics.
Right. Right.
Um, but that's because I want to do that thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where what is it that would open up the audience that you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that you want to see when you go out? What would
Right.
inspire you? And then what?
I think the answer is affordable, and then um, I'm looking for like variety. I'm looking to be surprised.
So tell, pardon me.
Hmm.
Let's go back to the play that you just saw.
Yes.
You were telling me about it. You said it was hard to explain. Clearly, you were surprised.
Right. Right.
I'm gathering from the art that we're at least getting a metaphor of three little pigs and the wolf, right?
Yep. That's part of it. Hmm.
Okay. So then what happens?
Um, basically the play is about three separate characters retelling how they spent the pandemic in three
Oh,
separate locations by themselves.
fantastic. Yeah.
And in some ways, I was like, I'm not really interested in hearing stories about people's pandemic experiences just because it's so recent and
Interesting.
and
Because I feel like that's all that anybody wants to write about right now.
but I very quickly got past that because the staging of it was so interesting. It took place in a bar and it was presented as this is an open mic. Talk about what you went through. And it was very dreamy as well. Like it was so bizarre and so well done.
That's exactly how so like the stage readings we do are
Mhm.
staged readings in a bar.
Mhm.
I kept I was like, all right, we have everybody at the end of the stage. It's all crammed, whatever. Let's do it. Is anybody else here Catholic? Do you remember Stations of the Cross?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so I like all of these storylines really didn't meet until the last scene.
Mhm.
So just keeping the groups together so the audience turns
Right.
instead of the cast just toppling each other,
Uh-huh.
right? That's not visually appealing. Where this, like, you get more intimate scenes
Mhm.
here, but you might not get everything over here, but somebody else is getting something more intimate.
I get it. Yeah.
And then you can bond over it. Because this
Mhm.
is another thing with audiences is how do they interact with the material?
Mhm.
Are they there to just watch, like you were saying? Are they there to engage in it?
Mhm.
Or are they there to not just engage in it, but then they get something out of socializing after? Which then brings me back to can we incorporate Pinterest, YouTube,
Mhm.
whatever, into building it into a live thing?
Got it.
Like you're saying with it was staged as an open mic where people do this.
Right.
Brilliant. I love that. How what are the other things that okay, so let's say again you're in New York, I'm here, we
Yes.
both have our two respective medias that we're telling these individual stories on, and
Mhm.
then you reading the blogs find out that you're coming to Chicago.
Right.
You don't know when, you don't know what's going on, and then oh maybe they're gonna fight at YippieFest,
Uh, maybe who's
right?
gonna fight? Oh.
Me and you,
Oh.
who are these characters,
Right,
right?
right.
And that's the live show
Mm.
that these people now are actively participating in. And
Right.
then in terms of streaming, how many people want to be the one to capture it,
Oh, uh-huh.
right?
Well, all right. I have this quick pitch for you, and it's because you had asked me this week if I would submit to YippieFest, which I may. I'm doing some traveling for shows
I
this
saw
summer.
that, right?
Yeah. Um, and as you know, the sort of ability to do some things may inhibit your ability to do other things just because of time and money and so forth.
Mhm.
So I am interested in doing Yippee Fist again because it was so fun last year, and it did um, allow me to do a better version of Time Machine Blueprints live in front of an audience. Um, so here's my pitch for Yippee Fest this year. It's that you submit a show called Will Sean Show Up?
Yeah, done.
Because I might be able to make it, but I also might not be able to.
Sure.
So,
Was
and
it
it,
Quaaludes? Was Bad Theater Fest, right?
yes, I believe
Yeah.
a live presentation that you did, right?
No, I did not do that one. No, no. I was so
What was?
looking forward to it. This guy was like, having never done Quaaludes, I'm going to tell you a story about how I was high on Quaaludes in the 70s.
Oh, wow. I forget who did that. Um, I'd have to look through the old roster of performances, but
But yes, if you don't show up, I will tell some egregious story about your time traveling experiences.
Sure, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, all right, well, sounds good. Is there anything you want to close with before I have laundry to do, and then
Oh, sure. No, submit to YippieFest. This
yes,
is another thing. If it's a financial thing, start if you're putting out some like fundraiser something for it, right?
yeah,
That also gets people involved who will want to be there because they're now already involved.
yes,
And even if it's not a fundraiser, if it's something like, sell them raffle tickets or whatever.
yeah. All right, I'm paying attention. I'm also typing at the moment. I figured I would throw up this.
Indeed. Hey, that's
Okay,
great.
what's this? I mean, people can Google it, but what's the website?
YippieFest.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Applications are up. You'll just fill in a couple of notes about your show.
right.
Um,
And I guess some quick advice from somebody who has done these kinds of theater festivals before on the planning side, but also in the participating side. Like, even if you have something that's only an idea now, submit the idea and then work on it, and then you now have a deadline. Is that good advice? Okay.
and that's true of your pick it up, put it down live theater.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. All right, Christine, thanks for jumping in today. And
Thank you.
we will talk soon offline and I'm sure online again too about more live theater endeavors.
You know how to find me.
Cool. All right. I'll toss you out and then I'll close.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Later. All right. And then if you're finally still watching, and speaking of live theater, if you do want to see a show tonight in New York City, Stone Laughs is 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. The Midtown location is secret because once you get tickets, it'll tell you where specifically in Midtown Manhattan it is. But Stone Laughs is tonight. I think this is the 31st monthly session of it, and it has been a blast to participate in. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. And